So most people have an inner voice, but most people's inner voice are different, right? Some people's inner voice can be very gentle and encouraging and nurturing. You can do it, it's okay, try harder, right? But some people's inner voice can be very, very harsh or have very high expectation, like, hey, why are you so lousy? Why are you so slow, right? You can be better than this, come on. My question to you is, how does your inner voice sound like? Hi, my name is Joel and I'm a life coach. And welcome back to my channel where we discuss about relationship, intrapersonal stuff, and just how we experience the world. Okay, and today we are going to talk about inner voice or self-criticism. Okay, self-criticism, right, in moderation, it could be an act of just reviewing and trying to improve yourself. And when done in that healthy moderation, it can actually help us to be a better version of ourselves. However, right, this term usually means that it can be very excessive or it can be very detrimental to our mental health, where we beat ourselves down or be very tough on ourselves and don't give ourselves a chance to celebrate the little victories. What's even worse is that when some of my clients, they have very condemning thoughts, where they don't just criticize the act, but they say that they are a loser, right? Or they're childish, or they'll never be able to get out of it.
I'm a failure, complete loser.
You'll never make it in life. There's this element of condemnation that actually is worse than just criticizing the act or criticizing their task, right, or ability, but it really brings the whole self-esteem down. Self-criticism at a moderate level, right, can actually help one to be a better person. But usually people don't relate to that term. They will use more positive words like reflection, right, or reviewing their actions or their project or task, right? And how it serves, right, is that when we look at what we have done not so well, we also give due credit to what we have done well, and it's a more holistic approach, right? And it helps one to be better. But it crosses over to self-criticism, right, when the expectations are unrealistically high, right? Or when we look at all the negative things, right, but we don't give ourselves a chance to celebrate the little victories, okay? And at that state, right, people will have lower self-esteem or lower self-confidence, and usually the mood, there's a very high pressure and you can't give yourself a break, right? But there is an even unhealthier level, right, where they cross over to self-condemnation. Right? So you hear statements that actually attack their identity, like, wow, you're so stupid, right? You're a loser, you're an idiot, nobody will love you, you don't deserve any better, right? And these are very, very strong statements that serves, I think they only serve to bring that person down. So I want to share with you a story of my client John, right, who is very critical of himself, right? And I want you to see whether this story relates to you as a whole or in parts, right? And if it doesn't relate to you, just notice whether you know anyone who goes through something like that as well, right? He has very low tolerance for the errors made, and he beats himself up for all these mistakes. He's also very, very impatient, right? And he gives very little room and space to celebrate the victories that he has won. So overall, right, you have this sense that there's very little compassion that he gives or allows for himself. Okay, but all these behavioral traits actually did bring about some good outcome or output in his life. Right? So people who know him will find that he's very reliable and that he shows or he displays a spirit of excellence because his work has very high standards or high quality, right? And he also has steady growth, right? And it's partially because of how he always reflects and examines, right, and criticizes himself. But there is also a dark side to all these behavioral traits, right? Emotionally and mentally, he doesn't feel good about himself most of the time. There is a general low confidence or low sense of self because he often only sees his lacks, but he doesn't see how he has done well. Physically, he is often in a fatigue state and he actually goes into burnout quite frequently. Sometimes his body actually forces him to take rest and take breaks, right? And that's the only chance that he can actually give himself that time, right, to recover. So all these things actually in the end also affects his output, right? Because when he's tired and he burns out and he crashes, right, he also cannot do work, right? And then, I think eventually the amount or the volume of work, right, will also be affected. But I want to say that this is not necessary, right? If you can manage that self-criticism better, if you can prevent yourself from burning out, you can actually have a nice flow where you can work longer at a more sustainable rate but still maintain a high level of output. So for my client John, when I go into a deeper conversation with him, two things came up. Okay? Firstly, when he was younger, this was how he coped with himself when he wants to feel accepted by his parents. They were very harsh and critical of him, and he had to do that first to examine himself, and then that's how he feels safer with his parents. The second thing was even deeper. Right? For my client John, he wanted to be successful so that he can move out. And moving out to him represented a move towards safety. Right? At where he is now living with his parents, he cannot feel safe, right? For many different reasons. But he feels that when he can move out on his own, he'll be able to accept himself, he'll have the space to be himself, and that there will be many other layers of safety that he can achieve when he has his own place. So my question to you is, why are you self-critical? Right? Where is this self-criticism coming from? What's the story behind it? Only when you know the root of it, then you can deal with it at a more effective level. So if you're trying to find out where is this root, right? Why are you self-critical? Right, here are some questions that I'll be curious about. So I'll begin by asking you, what do you think will happen, right, if you stop being so critical of yourself? What kind of life, right, will you have? And then my second question is that, why is that so terrible or so terrifying? And as you begin to share, I'll be able to pick up, right, what is it that really matters to you, and why is it so important to you to be critical of yourself? Okay? But I want to say that everyone has a different story, and it's very difficult to give a generic question that will fit everyone or that will work for everyone. Right? So there's a reason why it's important to have a therapist or a life coach, right, or someone that you can have a conversation with, right, so that people can hear your story and reflect to you what they see, what they hear, and in turn, right, it also helps you to process your thoughts better. So why is it important to find the root of this? Right? It's important because you then know what you're really going for. I've met some clients that they just go for the behavior or go for the superficial output, right? But they're never happy because deep inside they want something else. And just like my client John, it's the safety and the acceptance that he's going for. And if you can identify early, right, you can find alternative ways to get what you want or to build a life that you're happy with. And that's where you really thrive, right? Instead of just surviving by just doing the behavior or churning the outcome. So my encouragement to you is speak to someone, find out what really matters for you, and I want you to thrive instead of just surviving. If this video has been helpful for you, click like, subscribe, and the little bell button so that you'll be notified when the next video comes up. Right? And if you know that this will be helpful for your friend, please share this so that it can reach more people and benefit, right, the whole community. Alright, I'll see you next time.